Hey guys, it's Jessica from Peace Love Books, and today I'm here with my most read authors and my favorite book from that author. So first off, I'm trying to compose myself. The US women's national team just won the gold medal in the Olympics. Still thinking about it makes me want to cry. I'm so proud of them. This is my sweatshirt I had when they won the 2019 World Cup. So I love the team so much. I've been following them for forever. We did horrible at the World Cup last year and then won gold. So proud of them. It literally just happened like 15 minutes ago because I have stuff to do today. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch the game, do stuff. One of which was film a video. Don't film a video when you're emotional, okay? So we're just gonna put that out of the way. If I seem off, if you're like, what the heck is wrong with you? That's what's wrong. I'm just like overcome with emotion right now. But we're gonna film this video. So I am talking about my most read authors, and this is like as accurate as it can be on Goodreads, because Goodreads is weird where they'll sometimes like list a book twice, especially if you reread it, or they'll count novellas. So like some of these authors I counted some novellas, others I didn't, especially if they're like really short novellas. So I have like 15 authors I'm going to talk about, 3 historicals I'll say for the end, and then all the rest. I'd love to know right now, if you have not watched the video yet, let me know who you think is going to be on here and who do you think is my #1 read author. Some of these might be surprising because like 10 years ago I was like breezing through authors' backlists and then like reading them for the past 10 years. So a lot of these are old favorites. Some of them though are new favorites, which is exciting. So I think the first one and the most read author that I've read is going to be very surprising to you, especially if you're new to my channel, because if you've been around for a while, I would say like 2018, 2019 me was obsessed. Have you guessed it? The Dagger Brotherhood series, and I have read 31 books by J.R. Ward. I don't know if this counts any novellas or not, but this counts like 20 alone of the Dagger Brotherhood series. I've read a couple of her contemporaries, like in her Bourbon King series. I've read some of the Angel books in the spin-off series she has. I've read like the 2 other spin-off Dagger Brotherhood series, because we have the newer one, like the Jackal and those ones, but then we had another one of like a training camp, and I believe those were different series. So she's written a lot of books and I've read 31 of them. So yeah, that's J.R. Ward for you. I was reading this series. I haven't even like caught up on the series either. I haven't read in the past like 3 years, I think, any of the new books, because the series was in its prime in the first like 10. The first 10, maybe 11, amazing. Zeta's book is my favorite. I feel like that's no surprise. I love Zeta's book so much, but Manny I also really love. I forget what number his book is, but his is a dark blue cover, I believe. So I loved his book as well, and his is like a little later, and those are my 2 favorites. And I do love though, like I said, the first like 10, and then since then I haven't like love any, but it's still like a solid series. So J.R. Ward, it takes the cake for my most read author, which I bet none of you, some of you might have guessed, but I bet it was hard for you to guess. The next authors, because I've literally read every single book she's written, including ones that haven't been published yet, because that is going to be Katherine Connors. I have read her, I think over the past 2 years is when I discovered her and then became so completely obsessed. I think that it was 2022 where I first met her at Book Bonanza, and that was when I was like starting to really fall in love with her books, and now I get to work for her and I do beta read for her. So I have read 23 official books and then a few more that she's already written that I've beta read. So I've read a lot by her, and so she is my second most read author. She has 4 completed series. This is her 5th series now. So this series is so good though. This is the Sparrowfall series, and I like have specific favorites in each series, and right now my favorites are changing as the books release, but so far I would say Fragile Sanctuary is my favorite, but like Echoes of You is a close, Hidden Waters I love, Reckless Refuge I love, when they are like a really good either Friends to Lovers / I think Friends to Lovers actually is my favorite of hers that she's written, but also if it's a serial killer suspense aspect, I'm all over that. So this one has a serial killer in it. This is Hate to Love, brother's best friend, and they are working together, but there's a serial killer in town that's affecting the hero. He was an ex-FBI profiler, so I love her suspense so much. I love her. Every single thing she writes, I talk about her excessively. You guys know how much I love Katherine Connors, so if you love small town romantic suspense, please read her books. I've read all of them. Okay, so the next one is going, I think, to be a shock to so many of you, because this author actually hasn't published anything in a few years, and I first got to meet her in 2014 when I was in college, and she was on a book tour with Atria and 2 other authors, and I got to meet her, and then I've met her quite a few times after that, and I just loved her books, and I know that a lot of people love to hate her. I really love her books, and that is going to be Colleen Hoover. She actually stopped writing because of how much hate she gets from people. I love Maybe Someday is my favorite by her, and I think that she definitely delves into a lot of really like heavy and just like raw and real topics. So I did not actually enjoy It Starts With Us. I feel like she wrote that because she felt like she had to, and I feel like you could tell. I know she was contracted to write a couple thrillers, which would be really fun because I do really like her Layla and Verity. I did really like those too, but Maybe Someday's my favorite. This one is so good. She's living with her boyfriend, he cheats on her, and she has to move in with someone that lives like across the way, and he is actually a deaf musician, but he has a girlfriend. So her books are always very angsty, and I really love them. I have read 23 of her books. I've not read all of them. There's a couple in series I haven't read yet, but I've read a majority of her books. This is my favorite. Another one I don't know if you guys would guess, because I do read most of her new stuff, but I've been reading her as well since at least 2015, so almost a decade I've been reading her, and that is Elle Kennedy. I don't know if you know, I've read 20 Elle Kennedy books because I've read most of her new adult stuff. I haven't read a couple of her new stuff that she's published with the publisher, but I did read like her old mass market series, so she had a really great romantic suspense series that I loved, and a post-apocalyptic series that I loved, and then of course the Off-Campus series. I'm showing off my OG copy of The Score. This is what they all looked like when they were coming out. When did this release? I remember vividly like reading this 2016. I was living in my apartment and I read it literally all the way through the night. I was obsessed. This one is Dean's story, and that's really all I remember. I have not read this since 2016, so it has been 8 years since I've read this, but I love this so much. But I do really love the new series she's writing, The Graham Effect and The Dixon Rule. I think I gave both of them 5 stars. I love them so much. So still a huge Elle Kennedy fan. I love this book. Read 20 of her books. Another author that I was absolutely obsessed with back in like 2015, 2016 time that I have not stopped reading is Penelope Douglas. And now for the longest time, Punk 57 was my favorite, but I think the older I get, the less I will love this. They're in high school though, so I don't know if I read this again if I would really, really love this, but well, I mean, I guess, are they in high school in this one? Part of it I believe they are, and part of it not, because there's like flashbacks and stuff, but Hideaway is my favorite in the Devil's Night series. Kai is my absolute favorite. I love him so, so much, but I really do love what Penelope's writing now. I love the spin-off series to The Bully. I love the Bully series. That's where I started with Penelope. I did start with actually book 2, I think, in the Bully series, and then went back and read Bully, and then read all of them because I was getting stuff from Berkeley at the time when they were being published way back then, and then Penelope self-published, and now I haven't read the new one that just came out, but love Penelope. 19 books I've read by them. So the next one I think also might be a surprise, because this also is an author, I actually don't have the book because it's like buried somewhere, that I've been reading since 2015, 2016. I remember actually studying abroad in London in 2013 reading these books, and that is going to be Samantha Young. Samantha Young started out indie published and then got picked up by Berkeley, and now Samantha Young writes both indie and trad, and the one that has been my favorite, and I don't know if anything will ever dethrone it, is Before Jamaica Lane. This is a French to lovers romance. I haven't reread this since I read it, but I love this series, and she's actually writing a second gen series for the On Dublin Street series, and I am just dying. I'm so excited. I'm actually planning on reading 4 more of her books, and I'm halfway through another one, so this is going to go up by 5. I've read 18 of her books. After this month, I will have read 23 because I'm in the middle of Northern Twilight, so I'm going to finish that probably today, which is her new book, and then me and my Patreon are reading the Adair series, which is all on audio through my Hoopla, so I will be reading way more of her too. I love her books so much. She writes such good romances, and I love the Scottish sending for most of them, so yeah. Love Samantha Young. Friends to lovers, if you want, read Before Jamaica Lane, read this whole series. Okay, the next one should not be a surprise, and I actually have a couple that I have not read by her, and I really need to, and that is Gianna Darling. I have read 16 Gianna Darling books, and the only ones I have not read are the Evolution of Sin series, I've only read the first one, and then one other one from a duet, and then her standalone I haven't read, Sloth. I just never read that series, and that's like a little bit further along in this series, so I never picked it up. But she's been my favorite author for a very long time as well. I believe I picked her up while I was on vacation in the Bahamas. I like vividly remember loading up my Kindle with books and someone had told me, you're gonna love this series, and they thought I would love book 2, which is Welcome to the Dark Side. But I started with Lessons in Corruption and I'm obsessed. So I have been reading this series I think since 2017 and it's so good, and the last one just came out. But Inked in Lies is my favorite. This one is a friends to lovers romance. Obviously it is brother's best friend romance, and she's been in love with him her whole life though, and he's a little bit older, and they lived next to him, then they moved in with him, and it is a motorcycle club series. So good. I'm obsessed with Gianna. That should not be a surprise. Okay, so then the next 3 are all at 13 books. So we will go ahead and, oh, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4. The next 4 are at 13. So all of these, the rest, I have read 13 books from them, and we'll go ahead and just chat about them. So the first one is a newer author that I'm obsessed with, and that is Laura Pavlov. I actually read one of hers a long time ago, and it was one of her older series, and then I read the Honey Mountain series, the Cottonwood Cove series, and now the Magnolia Falls series, and they are so good. But my favorite has to be After the Storm. These are all small town romances, and she just kills it with every release, and I'm gonna be reading a new book by her this month. My next audiobook is her new release, so we will be up to 14 for Laura Pavlov. But this one is a second chance romance, and it is so good. They actually broke up because they were just in completely different parts of their lives, and now she is back in their small town for reasons to take care of her dad, and they reconnect, and he's a single dad, and it is so good. Obsessed with Laura. Then we have the Queen, Kennedy Ryan, with 13 books. There's a few of hers I have not yet read. I have not finished the Grip series yet. Don't come at me. I need to prepare emotionally. I've only read the first one in the novella. I need to continue on, but the Kingmaker duet is still my absolute favorite by her, but I love everything that she's doing. I am so proud of like how far she's come and how much she's succeeding in her writing career, which is so exciting. But this one is a romance where the heroine is kind of like an activist, and the hero is also into like activist kind of stuff once he breaks away from his father. But they met at a protest that was protesting his father's company because they're putting pipelines in native land, and the heroine is half native. Her mother had disappeared and no one ever found her, so she meets him a lot throughout the years, and so it is definitely like a soulmates romance. Definitely some suspense in here as well. So good. I definitely want to reread this series because I love it. Then we do have QB Tyler with 13 books, and I have one, I think, of QB Tyler's backlist I haven't yet read, and then I have her newest book, so I'm going to be reading 2 more soon. The one is the duet, the bittersweet duet with the cheating couple, and then the new one, which I need to read. But Forget Me Not is still my all-time favorite. I think this might have been my first QB book, if not like my second or third, but this is Amnesia Second Chance. If you've noticed a pattern, I love a good second chance romance and a good like we're meant to be together romance. So I've actually tabbed this and highlighted it. I love this book so much. One of my favorites. And the last one is one I was like, wait a second, but I've read contemporary from this author too, and that's Jennifer Armentrout with 13. I would say From Blood and Ash is probably my favorite from Jennifer Armentrout, but I did really love her contemporary new adult series like a few years ago. I was just devouring those on audiobook, but I have read like her Obsidian series, not all of them though. I never finished that series, and I haven't continued on the From Blood and Ash series, but I do love From Blood and Ash, and I love the dynamic. I remember being obsessed with that romance. I just haven't read her in a while, so she has a lot more of her backlist I can definitely explore. We're gonna go into some historical romance authors. I actually have 4. I don't remember what I said at the beginning, but coming in at number 1, no surprise, is Lorraine Heath. I've read 24 of her books. More still I have not yet read, but obviously The Earl Takes All is my favorite. This one, his brother gets killed by a gorilla, and they're twins, but his wife is pregnant back home. So he's been in love with his brother's wife, and now he has to go back and pretend to be his brother so that she doesn't have any complications with her pregnancy from being too distraught from her husband dying. So then she sees him come back and she's like, he's very different than who my husband was. So good. She has so many of my favorite tropes in her books, so I love that. Then we have 3 authors where I actually don't own one of them, and then I can't find my Tessa Dare books. They're somewhere. My historicals are stacked 3 deep. Can't find them unless they're in the front. So let's go ahead, go to my second most read author though of historicals, and that's going to be Lisa Kleypas with 22. And now I love Lisa, and I have a hard time picking a favorite, but I think my favorite I'm going to pick as of now, let me pull these up, is going to be one of them in the Hathaway series. I loved all of them, but Love in the Afternoon was so good, and I feel like it's an underrated one out of the whole series, but I love this. So it's an epistolary romance, and she, I believe, is like taking the place of her friend, and so he thinks he's writing to someone else, but she's writing in place, and he comes back and he's definitely very, very stoic and hardened. I believe he was injured in the war too. It has been, I read this a while ago, but I absolutely adored this one. So Lisa, though, can do no wrong. I have so many 5-star reads from her. I love her. Okay, so then Tessa Dare, I also have read so many from her that I love, but I think my favorite, oh, I really do love this Middle Cove series, but I think I really love the most When a Scot Ties a Knot, which is she's writing to this like fake fiance, and he's actually getting her letters because he's a real person that exists and she has no idea, and so then he has to go and marry her. Yeah, he shows up and he's like, hey honey, here I am, and she's like, here's the guy that I've been telling you what I'm engaged to, even though I thought he wasn't a real person. So it's so fun. I love all of her books though. I miss her writing so much. If she'll ever finish that series, ugh, but it's so good. She has so many good series. I love her. And the last one, I always see this book at the bookstore and I'm always just like, do I own this? Do I not? I don't remember. But it is going to be Julia Quinn. I have read 12 books by Julia Quinn, and my favorite though is not in the Bridgerton series. I do love Just Like Heaven, but I think that my favorite is going to be book 2 in that series. Oh, book 3, which is The Sum of All Kisses. This one, I think his name was Hugh. I don't know why I remember his name. It is Hugh. Tell me why I remember his name when I never remember any names. So he actually was injured, so he does walk with a limp, and he hates the heroine. The heroine and him kind of have like a hate to love romance, and I remember a lot of the book taking place like in traveling to and from a wedding, but I loved this one. So it was so good, and one of my favorites by her. I do still love When He Was Wicked. That's also like sometimes my favorite depending on the day. So those are my most read authors and my favorite books by them. Let me know who your most read authors are. I'd really love to hear, or who you've read here, and how many books you've read by each of these authors. I would love to hear as well, and that's all I have. If you've made it this far, leave me a bat emoji for J.R. Ward. Since she is queen, she is #1. Leave me a bat emoji, and that's just for the vampires. But that's all I have. As always, thank you so much for watching and have a good day. Bye.